The battle was already over. Broken shields lay scattered across the field. Spears protruded from the earth at strange angles. Wounded men searched among the fallen while ravens circled overhead. Somewhere beyond the smoke, survivors were retreating toward the safety of distant settlements. For many medieval rulers, scenes like this became painfully familiar. Again and again, Viking forces appeared in places where they were not expected. Again and again, armies sent to stop them failed. Sometimes the defenders had superior numbers. Sometimes they fought on familiar ground. Sometimes they had weeks to prepare. Yet the outcome often seemed the same. The Vikings won. For centuries, people searched for simple explanations. Some blamed their ships, others blamed their weapons. Many blamed their reputation. But the truth was far more complicated. The most dangerous thing about Viking warriors was not a sword, an axe, or a longship. It was the men standing beside them. Unlike many armies of medieval Europe, Viking forces were built around tightly connected warrior groups. These were not random strangers gathered a few days before battle. They were warbands bound together by loyalty, experience, shared hardships, and personal relationships. Men swore themselves to leaders who rewarded success with wealth, status, and opportunities for glory. A warrior's reputation depended on the group, and the group's reputation depended on every warrior. This created something powerful. A Viking warrior rarely fought alone. He fought beside men he trusted, men he had sailed with, men he had eaten with, men he had survived battles with. While many opponents relied on temporary levies, Viking leaders often relied on experienced followers who already understood how to move, fight, and survive together. That advantage was difficult to measure, but it appeared on battlefields across Europe. And it was only the beginning, because the strength of Viking warriors did not come from a single source. It came from a system that turned small groups of determined men into one of the most effective fighting forces of the medieval world. To understand why Viking warriors were so difficult to defeat, it helps to understand who they actually were. Many people imagine enormous armies appearing from nowhere. The reality was often different. At the heart of Viking military power stood the warband. Picture a longhouse during winter. Torches flicker against timber walls. Weapons hang beside shields. Veteran warriors sit around the fire discussing past campaigns while younger men listen carefully. Outside, snow covers the landscape. Inside, plans are already forming for future voyages. These gatherings created bonds that extended far beyond warfare. A leader was expected to provide opportunities, rewards, protection, and prestige. In return, warriors offered loyalty and military service. The relationship was personal. Success benefited everyone. Failure threatened everyone. This system produced highly motivated fighters. A warrior was not merely protecting a kingdom. He was protecting his companions, his leader, his reputation, his future share of wealth. When campaigns began, these warbands became the foundation of larger armies. Multiple groups could temporarily unite beneath powerful leaders, creating military coalitions capable of operating across enormous distances. The famous Viking armies that campaigned in England were often combinations of many such groups rather than single unified forces. That flexibility gave Viking leaders a major advantage. Small groups could conduct raids. Larger coalitions could conduct invasions. The same warriors who attacked isolated settlements could later participate in campaigns involving entire kingdoms. Experience accumulated rapidly. Every voyage taught lessons. Every battle created veterans. Every successful expedition strengthened confidence. Unlike many opponents who spent most of their lives farming, trading, or managing estates, numerous Viking warriors repeatedly participated in military expeditions throughout their adult lives. Their training came from real experience rather than formal instruction. They learned by fighting, surviving, and adapting. Over time, this created a dangerous cycle. Victories produced experience. Experience produced better warriors. Better warriors produced more victories. And across Europe, their enemies were beginning to notice. If experience made Viking warriors dangerous, mobility made them terrifying. Imagine a local ruler receiving alarming news: a monastery has been attacked, a wealthy trading settlement has been looted, several villages along the coast have been burned. Messengers race across the countryside carrying warnings. Horns sound. Local leaders gather men. Plans are made. Orders are given. But before the response can begin, the Vikings are already gone. This happened again and again across Europe. One of the greatest strengths of Viking warfare was the ability to appear unexpectedly, strike quickly, and disappear before a larger force could react. Their longships allowed them to travel along coastlines, enter river systems, and reach places many defenders considered safe. Rivers became highways. Distance became meaningless. Natural barriers became opportunities. The famous attack on Lindisfarne shocked the Christian world not simply because of its brutality, but because it demonstrated how vulnerable seemingly secure locations could be. The attackers appeared with little warning, struck quickly, and vanished before meaningful resistance could be organized. Similar patterns would repeat for generations. As Viking experience increased, so did their confidence. They learned which rivers offered access inland. They learned which regions were poorly defended. They learned how quickly local rulers could respond. Most importantly, they learned how to stay one step ahead. Even powerful kingdoms struggled with this problem. By the time armies assembled, the target had often already been attacked. By the time defensive plans were completed, the enemy might be operating somewhere entirely different. This constant uncertainty exhausted opponents. A ruler could defend one town. He could not defend every river. He could fortify one crossing. He could not fortify an entire coastline. The Vikings understood this weakness and exploited it relentlessly. Their goal was rarely to fight on equal terms. Their goal was to control when and where the fight happened. And that advantage alone won battles before swords ever crossed. Mobility could bring Viking warriors to the battlefield, but mobility alone could not win the battle itself. When fighting became unavoidable, Viking warbands relied on methods that had been refined through years of campaigning. Picture two armies facing each other across an open field. Shields overlap. Spears point forward. Warriors wait in tense silence. No one wants to be the first to break formation, because once the battle begins, discipline becomes everything. The most famous Viking formation was the shield wall. Rows of warriors stood shoulder to shoulder with overlapping shields, creating a defensive barrier capable of resisting attacks from larger forces. Behind those shields stood spearmen and axe fighters, ready to exploit any weakness that appeared. A shield wall required trust. Every warrior depended on the man standing beside him. If one position failed, the entire formation could be threatened. This is where the strength of the warband became obvious. Many warriors had trained, traveled, and fought together for years. They understood each other's movements. They trusted each other under pressure. That cohesion could be difficult for temporary levies to match. The Vikings also used ambushes whenever possible. Rather than meeting an enemy under ideal conditions, they often exploited forests, narrow roads, rivers, and difficult terrain. An opponent marching confidently toward a battlefield could suddenly find himself attacked from an unexpected direction. Contrary to popular imagination, Viking success was rarely based on reckless charges. The most effective leaders combined aggression with practicality. They selected favorable ground. They used surprise. They concentrated force where it mattered most. And they adapted quickly when conditions changed. Combined with years of experience, these methods produced warriors who were extremely difficult to break once combat began. By the time many opponents realized what they were facing, the battle was already turning against them. Over time, Viking victories created something even more powerful than military success. They created expectation. Across Europe, stories spread faster than ships. Merchants carried them. Monks recorded them. Travelers repeated them. Each new raid added another layer to an already growing reputation. Soon, entire communities feared the possibility of a Viking attack long before any warriors appeared on the horizon. This reputation became a weapon of its own. Some rulers chose negotiation over battle. Others paid enormous sums to encourage Viking forces to leave their territories. These payments helped finance future campaigns and reinforce the perception that resisting the Vikings was often more dangerous than buying them off. The reputation was not built on myths alone. It was built on results, successful raids, successful campaigns, successful armies. Generation after generation, Viking warriors proved capable of operating across enormous distances, adapting to unfamiliar environments and defeating opponents who underestimated them. Even their enemies were forced to learn from them. Kingdoms strengthened defenses, fortified towns appeared, river barriers were constructed. Military systems evolved in response to the Viking challenge. Yet the fact that so many changes became necessary reveals the true scale of their impact. The Vikings were never unstoppable. They lost battles, they lost leaders, they suffered defeats. But that was never the reason people remembered them. People remembered them because of how often they succeeded, because of how far they traveled, because of how effectively they fought, and because small groups of determined warriors from Scandinavia repeatedly forced entire kingdoms to change the way they defended themselves. Their ships carried them across oceans. Their leaders gave them direction. Their tactics gave them advantages. But the foundation of their success remained the same. The Warband, a brotherhood of warriors whose loyalty, experience, and discipline helped make Viking fighters some of the most formidable opponents of the medieval world.